go to another country, you can come over that date and then you will find information. It will be very interactive if you want to get to know people from other culture other than our typical culture talk. This will be a little more one-on-one activity, okay? So without further ado, Culture Talk Libya. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you all for coming here and for your interest to learn more about our culture, Libyan culture, and to taste our food as well. Let me first introduce myself. My name is Melad. I'm from Benghazi city in Libya, and here are my two friends, Salem and Majeed. The three of us are students in Bauhaus University. Actually, my friend Majeed, he finished his thesis, and Salem is doing his thesis, so I thought that's the right time to do it before they go. Okay. So, we would like to start with a quick survey, like an interactive survey. So, could you please go to this website, meditate.com, and enter this code.
هيشقينا بقى من أولها كده.
Keep the code. Keep the code.
So, we would like to start to know, where are you from, guys?
The code is for above here.
Libya, Egypt.
كتبت مصر بالعربي.
So I think our largest group here are from Ethiopia and Germany, Egypt, Nepal. Okay, it's a very nice international.
Where? Well, I can see it even.
Some people are entering. Okay.
Hi. Oh, two poor girls. Germany is nothing.
How did we add the flag? Okay, it's really nice to have all of you here, and we have this much variation. Okay, so you know the time when you meet maybe someone from Libya, it's like they introduce themselves. Okay, I'm from Libya, and then we would like to know what's the first things that comes to your mind. So, but in the next slide here, okay, still people are entering. Okay, would you please answer this question? You can refresh in your phone. This means money. Stuffed potato. Who said that? We have stuffed potatoes today.
What did you say?
Where is that? Okay, we will show you where it's at.
Cute.
Who said cut? Someone said Milad. Yeah, okay, the desert, we will show you the desert and some other places. Who said Egypt? What? No, okay. Yeah, we can see like Gaddafi because of the recent time. Yeah, the Sahara, the desert, and oil, okay. Thank you all. Now I would like to start with the presentation.
هذا تشد الأهرامات ورا ولا بيتهيألي؟
Okay, so very briefly, our country here it's located in Africa, North Africa. You can see here we have 7 neighboring countries: Egypt, Tunisia, Algeria, Nigeria, Chad, and Sudan. And the country is actually located in a region called Maghreb. Maghreb is like in Arabic, the West. So for during the Islamic time when it was all one country, they were referring to the whole region as Maghreb, which is like the western side of the Arabic, the Islamic region. So we actually if you compare Libya with other Maghreb regions, we have some similarity in traditions, but there are still some things which are especially for Libyans. And you can also see that most of the Libyans actually are living in the coastal areas. It's a large country, but we mostly live in the coastal area because most of the terrain is desert. Okay. So, okay, you can see here some photos of Libyans. We collected them with us.
مجيد حرامي.
Okay. So we're 6.8 million, and as in terms of groups, we are basically 2 main groups. There are people who called Amazirs. Maybe you've heard them as, or you know them as Barbars. But actually, they don't like that name. So the Amazirs are like the free people. They used to live in the region for a long time until the 7th century. The Muslim came. And after a long time, they got mixed together. So most of the population, you could say that they're a mixture between the Arabs and the Amazirs. So it's difficult to say that these people, someone is Amazigh or Arabs. However, there are some groups that still stick together from the Amazigh. So they have their culture, they're still holding to their culture. They also have their flag, and you can see it has 3 colors because there are 3 groups: the desert and the mountain and the sea people. Okay. Moving to the costumes. Okay. You can see this is typical traditional Libyan clothing. It's quite comfortable. No, not the shoes. No. But most Libyan males, they wear these clothing maybe for the social events, maybe for the Friday prayer. Okay, we go next one. And this is another type of traditional clothing. It's also, you can see it's similar somehow to the some of the clothing the Roman people used to wear, and I think it was quite practical because people used to travel with these clothing, and they can, they prevent against sand and cold, and also you can use it at night to cover yourself. Okay. For the women's clothing it's mostly colorful, but it's a bit more complicated. So they have these jewelry, and normally women they don't wear them all the time because it's difficult to wear them. And but in events like in marriage or in important events, they wear these clothing. Here's another one. The previous ones were for the mixtures between Arabs and the Amazighs, but for the Amazighs themselves, they have some also traditional clothing, and you can see they have these necklaces with, some objects, and also they're known for having tattoos on their face. It's very traditional to do that. Okay, do you know the name of this car? Tawarik, yes. This car was named for these people. They're also Amazighs, but they live in the desert, and they're called Tawarik, and this is also their traditional clothing, and they're living more to the desert area, to the boundary with Algeria. Okay, so some Libyan traditions I would like to talk about. Extended, I would say the Libyan culture. We have this, we are always holding to our families, but you can think of the family as a big family. So you are always connected to your father's relative, mother relatives. So we always have this network of extended family. In addition to that, and most of the time, the parents live when they're old. They live with their children. So I mean, it's very uncommon for the elderly people to go, for example, to a nursery or something. So there's always this connections with the family. Okay, and we also have like normally, especially the like my father's generations, they used to have many children. And also his father, like I have 13 aunts and uncles from my mother's side, or from my father's side. Okay. But now it's not the same. I mean, now it's like, let's think about it. And we have this conservative style of living. So you can always think of it as a conservative society where, for example, the relations between men and women always like bounded with marriage, and I mean these things are important somehow in the culture. There's also sometimes we have this thing, the family thing. Like for example, okay, I'll give you a personal example. My brother runs a cafe, and it's like a family cafe. So if I enter there, I'm not allowed in. So it's only for the family somehow. We have this idea that we want the families to stay. I mean, we have some kind of privacy to make it. For the marriage, I mean, marriage is a very important step, and I mean, you can think first of the dating. In our society, normally dating, if you want to start dating someone, it's normally with the whole family knows that you're dating. There's this thing that before dating someone, you probably go to their family house with your families, okay, for the marriage, it's like a big ceremony. So sometimes 3 days, and you invite most of the people you know, the people you know, and your family, an extended family. And actually, it's normal to have 400, 300, 500 guests. Sometimes it's too much. But at the same time, you get invited a lot. I mean, so many times because you know a lot of people, and that's also nice. We have also this tradition of eating together, so for any event, even at home, it's always this tradition that we have one big plate with everyone eating together, or sometimes like two groups, maybe the older people and the young people eating together. So we have this tradition of having this big plate, and we have always these side dishes. Okay, Majeed will tell you more about the food. For the languages, basically there are two languages in the country. The Arabic, of course, everyone knows it, and the Amazigh, they speak their own language. You can see the alphabet for me is complicated, I don't speak the language. And okay, this is the Arabic. Okay, this is something.
No.
Okay, we have a quick video like showing some parts of Libya. It's like 1 minute video. And after me, Salem will continue.
الواد سالم كاميرا شوي خالص. سالم كاميرا شوي.
Okay, so.
Okay, so yeah, I'll be speaking about the landscape in Libya, and you can see from the most of the answers they were talking about the Sahara, which is yeah technically not wrong. Libya basically has three main types of landscapes. We have the Sahara, yes, and we have the mountains, and we have the coast. First, Libya is known for its variety of Saharan landscapes. So it's not just sand, we have different places that you can visit in the Sahara. First, we can start with the Akagos Mountains. It's a very unique space. You can see from the shape of these rocks, it looks unique, and it goes by the Saharan winds and some sand on sand rocks effects, and also known for its rock arts that is very, very, very old. Coming next, this is another view of the Akagos Mountains. Next is the Gaborone Oasis. It's, as you can see, is a water body in the middle of the desert, and the interesting thing about this lake that it's very, very salty, that you can easily just float in water if you're swimming. And as you can see in the next pictures, you can see the green areas and the palms, and you might be wondering what is the water that's feeding these. And what's interesting is there are different springs with normal water that's not salty in the same region that is feeding these green areas, and it's even easy to just excavate with your hands to get a drinkable water in the nearby region. Next, you can see in the maps we did in this way, this black dot here, you can see it from space. It's called Wal Namus, and this is a closer picture. It's a volcano, it's a prehistoric volcano, and it's interesting that this black area, which is actually not sand, is covering the sand beneath this region. And it's nice to see that you can see that it's like it's an own ecosystem here. You can see a mountain, you can see the green areas, you can see a lake. It's also labeled by visitors as the very beautiful place to visit. Going from the desert up north, this is Wadi Kuf, and it's right next to the Al-Jabal Al-Akhdar, which is the green mountain. And it's called like this because this is a very green region, as you can see here in the pictures. And the small story happened in Wadi Kuf that is still very important for Libyans. It's very known for its prehistoric caves that were used during the resistance against the Italians during the occupation, during the war. And there is one specific cave that's called Al-Mokhtar. Some of you wrote Al-Mokhtar. Who's Al-Mokhtar? Yeah, Majeed will tell you about Al-Mokhtar coming next. This is the picture from the air. This is the Green Mountain, and this is the Wadi crossing. And just for the information, this is the second highest bridge in Africa. Still, this is Wadi Kuf. This is another place. You can see it's interesting that we went from the desert all the way to the green areas to this just nice waterfall where people go to, especially during summer, to cool down, to enjoy the time. And next here is the Al-Marj countryside, which is still next to the Green Mountains, next to the Wadi Kuf. It's a grassland, and it's known for how green it is. I mean, especially in family trips, picnics, maybe school trips, they go there, enjoy the place, enjoy the nature, the weather. It's north by the sea, by the coast, and it's very nice. Now, here next is, for Libyans, it's very difficult to find a Libyan that doesn't know how to swim. It's 2,000 kilometers by the sea. The water is very important for us, for Libyans. And starting by Ras Al Hilal, which means like the head of the croissant, which called like this because it looks like a croissant from top of the mountain here. Yeah. Crescent, sorry, yeah, croissant, crescent. Yeah, think about the phone coming next, yeah. So the thing is, this area of the coast is very unique. It's very unique. It's the only region in the country that there's, between the sea and the land, there's no beach. It just goes straight from the mountain, the green, straight to the sea. And it's one favorable place also for Libyans. This is different. Like, yeah, we have the coast everywhere, but this is different. It's beauty and it's very nice. The green water, the clean water and the clean sand, and there are a lot of like resort places. It's like where people come enjoy the summer heat, and it's one of the most beautiful places in the country. You can see there the mountains there, the green areas, and straight to the water. Now going west of the country, we were in the east. This is west. This is the Jura. This is the Jura beach. It's also known, and for me, for myself, for my childhood, this is one of the places that we really had a lot of fun swimming. And as Melad said, we have this idea of like extended big family. So when I say that I go with my family, I mean family, cousins, uncles, aunts, mother sides, father sides, everyone go. And the thing is, we as kids, we were really waiting for it to come because like it's a huge thing. We don't just go for a day or two. We go for like a week. We stay there all the time until like the end of the week we come back and we just wait for next year. We stay in the coast. This is Al-Khoms, and this is Sabrata. This is the east of Tripoli, and this is the west of Tripoli, and this is the same idea. Resorts, places for families, friends to come. We were actually one of the Sabrata places, but Al-Khoms, no, I've never been there. But it's very nice, especially in summer. Now, we go to the cities. Tripoli, of course, yeah, is the capital of the country, the biggest city with like around 1.2 million population. And the main landmark or the main thing that Tripoli is known for is the Sarai al-Hamra, or the Red Castle. And you can see here, this is a painting. This is very old, it's like thousands of years old. And I mean hundreds, not I think thousands. And this is a new picture, but I think it's like in the 50s, maybe. And it's known to be like the defense shield of the city. You can see from the shape is where they defend the city. You can see this image, like this is I think like during your war or something. You can see like shooting from these towers towards the sea, especially like against ships. And there's a story about it's between 1803 and 1804, this American frigate that came, that tried to attack the country, to attack the city at the time. And they were trying to defend, as you can see in the picture, this is not the real event, but as you can see in the picture, they were trying to defend the city against this American frigate in 1903, and the captain at the time didn't count for the rocks by the shores that caused the ship to get stuck, which allowed the people of Tripoli at the time to capture the ship and to capture the crew, the captain, everyone. And a year they kept it by the sea, by the shores, and a year later the Americans did like somehow an operation and they burned the ship because it was there for a long time and they didn't want their opponents to use it. So there's also the anthem, the U.S. Marine anthem, to the shores of Tripoli. They're mentioning what happened here because for them it's a heroic operation when an American soldier came and burned down the ship by the coast of Tripoli. Now this is the Sarai Hamran now, and this is not the sea, By the way, this is an old picture on the left. Today, it's not by the sea, directly by the sea anymore. And in this picture, this is just an artificial lake that's shaped in the map of Libya, but it's not the sea anymore. And what's interesting is, you can see in the circle, this is the rail or the sail pole or the flag pole of the ship that we were talking about that was captured in 1804 or in 1803, and it's still until this day standing. Now, coming to Benghazi, the second biggest city, with around 800,000 to 900,000 population, and it's the capital of the eastern side, and it's where the speech of independence for the first time was given, and it's also where the uprising started, the revolution in 2011. Also, well, and this is the Maidan al-Shajara, which is like the tree Maidan, and as you can see here, that was heavily bombed during the Second World War, but it was then reconstructed. There are some other big cities, but we choose the biggest two in the country. So that was basically a general idea about the landscape and the cities in Libya. And coming next, we will see a video of some of the things that I just talked about, and then Majeed will continue after it.
Marhaba, that's hello in Arabic. Today, right now, I'm going to start with the archaeology. So what's to visit? There are some places that one can visit. They're spread around the entire country. So starting from the east, going into this oval shape. I think that there are other sites which are yet to be discovered, especially in the south. We'll start with the first city in the east, the green dot on the east side. That's Cyrene. It's a Greek city. It's an ancient Greek city, founded in 5000 or 4000 BC by some Greek adventurers or sailors. The city, or the Cyrene, is a very famous name in Arabic, in Libya at least. It refers to the eastern state of Libya. This is how important the city was. They named the entire state after it. Another side from the city, and then going to the second one, which you see, there are plenty of statues here, but some of them are beheaded. Ooh, beheaded. Why is that? And the reason is that they were heavily stolen, especially at the Napoleon era and also during the British control of the country, which is right after the Second World War. So most of these heads will be found in Europe's museums. If you want to see some sites from Libya, maybe visit the European Museum. Yes, I mean, this is just an example. There are really plenty, and they somehow trade them, especially during unrest times. Then going to Roman cities, really west, or the second west strait in the cities, called Lips Magna. I would say that this is probably the most famous archaeology site after Siren, or they may be in the same position. But this is Roman, and it's really big. I mean, I'm not sure, but for Siren, that was the biggest Greek city outside of Greece. I'm not sure, but I think that's the information I have. And here, Lips Magna, I think it's the biggest Roman city in North Africa, at least. Lips Magna, and then another. So Lips Magna was the capital of Tripolitanian Roman Empire. There were 3 cities. One of them was Tripoli. Salem already talked about that. Lips Magna was the capital, and then we have Sabrata. And in Sabrata we have this scene here, right on the coast. Actually, just an information that all 3 cities, so Tripoli, Lips Magna, and Sabrata, were harbors, were initially used as harbors, and then they were inhabited, and then trading was going on between, deep in the Africa, and then going north. All the trades, all the stuff is going through these 3 cities in the first century BC and the 2nd and 3rd century AC, so during 4,000 years. Sabrata has the biggest Roman theater in North Africa. It's quite big by any standards, and this theater is used for all national events. So musical concerts, poetry. Poetry is really important, by the way, in the Arabic region as a whole, and in Libya that's no exception by any means. And that's actually really integrated, and most of the music, I would say the special thing about Libyan music is the lyrics, but that requires some Arabic knowledge. So Sabrata, yes. And then going a little bit to the western borders, but a little bit south, we have Gadames. And this is, by the way, all of the cities here are World Heritage Sites again. And Gadames might seem like an old city. I think it's founded in the 2nd or 3rd century BC by the Tuaregs, so the car you saw, or the people that the car was named after. And you have Gadames, and this is Gadames Old Town, but what you would see, these are roofs. And this is the city. So where are the streets? That's quite interesting, because this is one of the streets. The city is located in the desert, and all the streets are underground. Or at least under the roofs. So they have the houses, so they have the entrance here, and these are windows, and this is like an old Gadames residence. So the streets are under the roofs. That's actually the walls are made of clay, so that's cooler at summer, and it provides warmth in winter. Where winter in the desert is very cold. I'm telling you that from a personal experience. And then the Caucasus Mountains, Salem already talked about that, so I'll just emphasize what he said, that these rocks are very special because they're caused by the wind. So here what we're seeing is nature's art. This is art caused by the nature, by the sand, by the wind. What's interesting here is that this was not a desert by any means 5,000 years ago. Actually, the 3rd oldest mummy in the world was found here. That was in 5,600 BC. By the way, the second one was found in Peru, and the first one was found in Nevada. So this is probably the oldest mummy, at least in this region. And we have some drawings. I think these drawings are dated to be 4,000 to 5,000. Some of them are dated to be 10,000 BC. So we have very, very old drawings here, right at the bottom of the desert that nobody inhabits, but still we found such things. Another drawings, and we can see that this is a proper way to communicate by the time, since there was no language, so they were just drawing stuff. And then we see again that these are animals. So this is what I would call like a cow, maybe, ostrich vielleicht. and camel, people, shepherds, and people like raising goats and stuff. 5,000 years ago, this was actually a savanna. This was not the desert. That's very interesting to know. We can see how fast climate could change from the biggest Sahara in the world, or at least the biggest Sahara in Africa, the Sahara Desert, very famous and very notorious for its dryness. And then we see there was a savanna 5,000 years ago. I think it's also could date back to 3,000 years ago. So Sahara Desert was not really a Sahara. And to the very interesting topic, food. Again, I'll emphasize what Melad has said. We always eat in groups. Actually, we always eat in fours. So whenever we have like a big plate, 4 people will sit there. Side dishes all over, food endless from all over. So food is a big thing. And in Libya, it's no exception from other regions, and at least in the Arabic world, or in the Middle East, or North Africa, it has been influenced, or the Libyan cuisine has been influenced by all the various mosaic that we're trying to portray here. The Saraya that Salem mentioned was actually built right before the Ottoman Empire came by, I think, the Knights of Saint Joseph from Malta, and then Ottoman came. So basically, I'll just stick to the food here and say that the food was influenced heavily by the Ottoman Empire because it connected all the Arabic regions. Since we have the same traditions, more or less, then somehow we were influenced by the food. Italians, we'll see how that goes. And then 3 states of Libya, but under English management, then independence of Libya and becoming a kingdom. Then we have this, I think at the time was the only flag that had this single color and not the green color. And we all know who that person is. And then we have the present. We basically went back to our independence, which is something that we are very extremely proud of. This is why I'm wearing this shirt here, because this guy here, this is my personal hero, and this is the hero for most Libyans, and is very, very famous in the Arabic world. I think there's no Arabic country that doesn't have a main street under this guy's name. We talk about typical celebrity dish. I would say that this is an influence from the Levant, Middle East, because we have some rice here. The rice comes from the east, so it comes through these areas, and that's how we went there. Lots of meat, lots of salad, and we can see that the addition here is some nuts. So this is, I think, is a cashew. This is a liver, so very high on protein, animal fat, and also some side dishes and salads. We can also see that this soup here is actually Turkish in origin, but all the Arabic countries like to refer to their own, and Libya is no exception of that too. Then we have mbakaka. This is the food in which if we go with friends and you want to cook, you would cook this thing because it's fast and it's very, very delicious, and it's also can be slightly spicy. So in winter, that's amazing. And if you want to taste what mbakaka would be like, but not quite, you would go to an Italian restaurant and order arrabbiata. But most arrabbiatas don't have that much meat here. I think this is cooked with chicken, if I'm correct. And we put it in a big plate, and I think this plate is now, as an exception from the rule of 4s, this plate fits the more. We always put them in a very big plate, so maybe 10 people would eat from the same plate. This is why it's very casual, so it's not like a special thing, it's just put some pasta and cook it. So, Libyan arrabbiata, but not quite. There are some special things. Then the North African influence, the couscous, the very famous couscous, actually it's available today. Also for the vegan people, you can have it without the chicken, so that's good. You can all have a taste of what the couscous is. I would say that this picture is slightly misleading because I couldn't find a proper picture of a Libyan couscous. This is, I think, Tunisian, either Tunisian or Moroccan, but I would say it's Tunisian. Libyan couscous is slightly close to Tunisian, but not quite. Again, it's very specific, especially the couscous. because every region claims it to be its own, and this is due to the fact that it was inherited by the Amazighs, so the main residents of the country. So the couscous. And the only thing that you would find in Libya, because it's the food of the Bedouin, is this guy here, the bazin. Bazin is basically a cooked dough, very basic food, but here this bazin is very special. Why is that? I mean, we see potatoes, we see some eggs, we see some meat, but what's this thing here? These are truffles. And truffles are very abundant in the desert, especially in March and in April. So these are truffles. So this, and we see them like a lot of truffles here. So this is quite expensive, even in Europe. The bazin is what every Libyan would call the traditional dish. But we have a lot of several. This is Bedouin influence, so Arabs. Arabs in the desert, more or less, or the valleys. I belong to them, by the way. Stuffed vegetables, Arabic influence, and today we have the stuffed peppers. So these guys here in the middle.
I hope you have some tonight.
Yes. Sorry?
I hope you have some of these tonight.
Just the stuffed peppers, it's mentioned here. Yes, we have some of them. And they're with meat, they're actually with beef. So for the people who don't eat beef, well, it's with beef, so. Sorry, this is cooked with lamb meat. The beef thing is what's coming next. So this is lamb. Relax, yeah? The stuffed potatoes is what's cooked with, we call it mbattan, which means embedded. So batata is potato, but batata, mbatna, embedded potato. So what's embedded in potato is the meat. There's a lot of, I mean, I can say exactly what's inside, but maybe a taste would tell you. Libya, since it's a desert country, it's a lot of oases, so we have lots and lots of types of dates. And it's actually North African thing. And I would say that we share a lot of similarities in date types between, I mean, for the people here, they probably don't know how many types of date there are. But in Libya, actually, one of the very well-organized exhibitions is the annual Festival of the Dates. And it's a very big one, and collects all the different types of dates from Libya. And today we have some sweets for you to taste. Some of them are actually state-of-the-art. We somehow invented some. So let's see how that goes. It's the little balls and the one that's looking like the date, as you will see later on. And then what Salem has cooked for us tonight is the chicken cheese pie. So a lot of food. Chicken cheese pie is available today, and I will emphasize that this is a shared dish between Libyans and Tunisians. This is the second time I mentioned Libya and Tunisia because we share a lot of similarities because, you know, we're very close. The very interesting thing, probably the thing that you would get at every Libyan event, a wedding, God forbid, a funeral or something. They have the tea. It's a shot, like the size of a shot, and then half of it is filled with foam, and it's really concentrated. So basically, you take this in 2 or 3 sips, maybe. And why? But why is the foam? I mean, there's no reason for it. And this is a question that I've always asked.
It's like the beef.
It's like what? Beer. It's actually artificial. The beer is more authentic, let's say. So this guy is actually making it, making it up and down, then the foam is thick and staying. And the reason for this, so just a summary, this guy is, if you can see from the background, is in the desert. In the desert, there are some gust storms, and tea is really important. Actually, every country in the world drinks tea in its own way. This is how we're making it. And the way the foam is there is if dust is there, if there's a dusty storm, it doesn't prevent you from drinking your tea. So it just collects all the dust, you blow it away, and then all the dust is gone, then you can enjoy your tea in 2 or 3 sips. The music, as we're eating, we'll play some music for you. It's what I would call like a standard North African / Libyan music. We're not play the folks music because Actually, there's no reason. So it's much nicer to eat on an Oriental, Andalusian, North African, Libyan music. I hope you like it. But however, we share some very interesting and very unique instruments that only here will be found. Is what we call zukra here. It's very similar to what you would see in a Scottish music. It's like a thing that you blow in and then you somehow compress it with your elbow and then you make the melody. It's a melody instrument. And it's actually very, like it's deeply rooted. It's from the Amazigh, so the native residents. But it's not theirs. I mean, everyone's playing it, but this is where it's coming from. Then we have the big trombone, but not exactly like a trombone. What we call a tangasoro. What would you call it? Like, you know, like a drum instrument. Yeah. Then we have the bendir. So this guy here, okay, this guy, he's actually my father. He's working as a musician in his son's wedding. He's actually a surgeon during the day, medical professor, but during the night is actually, you know. And this would tell you, I would like to refer to just an important statement here, that music in Libya, what's really unique about it is that it's sang and played by almost everyone around. You see the big circle here, it's only one voice that's singing. It's like a choir, but very specific one. Yeah. So my father. Important figure. So enough with the food, enough with the music. Now a little bit serious, but I'll try to make it light as possible. This guy here also on my shirt, Omar Al-Mokhtar. He fought the Italians. He's just a Bedouin. He's not exposed to much. But for 20 years, he's been fighting the Italians, or he fought the Italians. Until, well, I'll reach to the until part. This is Omar Mokhtar really in the middle. And you see the Bedouins fighting the Italians who used airplanes for the very first time in the world in warfare in Libya. So it's what you would imagine, planes against horses and old Ottoman rifles. And he's been fighting them for 20 years in Wadi Kuf, what Salem portrayed earlier. So Omar Mokhtar, caught by the Italians and executed. We see that the Italian officers here are more or less very proud. They took a picture with the guy. He's an old man. Who was Omar Mokhtar and how was he fighting? He was actually the military commander of an Islamic organization that was more or less political also, but also taught the Islamic traditions to the people of Africa, so going south, so working really deep in the desert. That's why Omar Mokhtar is a Bedouin. And the leader of this movement, not Omar Mokhtar, but the entire movement, and King Idris Snoussi. He ruled Libya from 1951 to the coup from Gaddafi in 1969. King Idris Snoussi is the king of Libya, or was the king of Libya, and during the Gaddafi era, the Gaddafi didn't want. We didn't learn who King Idris was in school. We had to be somehow either do our own self-study or learn it from stories. Reaching to this guy, who's very well known, Gaddafi. I'll not say much about him, but we had lots of jokes about Gaddafi as Libyans, you know. He's a tyrant, so he wouldn't go public with these jokes, but with friends you'd have a lot of funny jokes about him. And one of the, let's say an international funny joke about him, is this tent in Central Park in New York. Very crazy guy. He didn't sleep in this tent, to be honest. He was here actually for a United Nations speech that lasted 1 hour and 40 minutes. the second longest speech after, what's the name of the president of Venezuela? Hugo Chavez. It was the second, longest speech in the United Nations after Hugo Chavez, in which he tore a book of, I don't know, I mean, it's crazy, you wouldn't want to see it, but I'll just tell you the story. He rented this piece of land from a very crazy guy too. His name is Donald Trump. So, yes. I have a question. I would really like for anyone to quickly. I will ask and then I will take the questions. The question is, you want to set it up? So please grab your phones. It's a slide contest, and there will be like a small prize. But actually, it's not a small prize for me. It's nice. It's nice to solve it. Just Melad solve. Set up the thing. Is it fair? Does everyone have a phone? If nobody has a phone or has no internet access, then please, if you know the answer, just come right to me. Yeah? Or else? Answer here. And please, when you write the answer, just add your name so I can call for it. The question is, how old was Al-Mokhtar when he was executed by the Italians? Who's this guy? Okay, I mean you have to enter your name or else you'll be disqualified. Daniela. Daniela is our winner. Yes, yes. What do I have here? Yes, a lot of people entered the correct number, but no names. I'm sorry. I think it might also be referred to me. Can you please take it out? Thank you very much. Daniela, you've won a handmade souvenir from Libya that has a. It's a very, very special one. It's handmade, and I hope you like it. No problem. Who else got it right answer? Daniel, can you please click the box? Only Daniela got it. Actually, okay, I know that there's a guy over there who told me the answer before this presentation started, Yaroslav, but you didn't write your name, I'm sorry. Yes, it's my bad, I'm sorry. But maybe you could share it with Daniela. Take a photocopy of it or something. Yeah, well, I think we reached the very ending of our culture talk, which lasted almost 40 minutes or 50 minutes. And we'll finish with the... actually, Melad will finish with you since he started. So, Melad, you want to do something? Okay, we reached the question, sure.
I did my search here. I searched it and it was 73 years old, and I wrote, but it was my name.
Yaroslav was also the same case. Sorry. Maybe in the next cultural talk. This is what they say always, you know. Okay, maybe now is the time for questions. We can do them. Yes, please. Can you? Yes.
Do we have another mic?
I'm just curious if it's difficult or easy for tourists or foreigners to travel to Libya.
Currently?
When is the perfect time to go there or how together?
I mean, the perfect situation in which you would go to Libya is to know our local residents. Since there's a lot of unrest, so the situation is really unrested now. Excluding the eastern area, that's more or less, I would say, under well-controlled western area. That also has some interesting places. It's currently in unrest. But the very first key is knowing one of the Libyans, you know, because there's some specifics regarding the country, but very generally you should know a Libyan or apply for a visa. And you know, if there are some companies, the local firms that do this stuff. Yes. Yes, please.
Do they have a souvenir from Libya?
Sorry.
Do they have a souvenir from Libya.
Souvenir, souvenir.
Of course, you have to go to Libya first. Yes. Souvenir. I can't promise. I mean, maybe like just have a taste of the food. That would be
Today,
nice.
morning.
Sorry?
Today, tomorrow, after.
You're really desperate, right? I'll try to make sure that you get something by next year. Really, I mean, you have to. Someone has to come from there to bring something. So, let's just be satisfied with the food for today, right? I hope so. I hope so. Another question. Actually, you can, if you're slightly shy and don't want to ask, then just keep going to this website and keep refreshing and ask the questions. Ask the most embarrassing questions you want, or the most, or the nicest. I mean, it depends on what you want to ask. If you want to ask someone of us, so please just call for the name. Okay, please.
You haven't spoken anything about your sports. Can you say something about your sports, your sports?
About schools.
Sports. Sports.
Okay. Sorry, I thought you said schools somehow. Sports. Let me think about it for a second. Football, street football, so very unorganized football. I mean, it's very difficult. Melad here is actually a very special guy because he's the only Libyan I know who doesn't know how to play football. Okay, Salem is a very good player. He's playing as a defender. But that's too much information. I play. Yeah, okay. All Libyans know how to play football. They all know how to swim. Most of them know how to shoot. Air rifles, not gun weapons. Air rifles. I can shoot.
I have a question
most
here.
of the time. Do you have an addition? Do you want to say something about sports?
Now we have just
Why Libyan men are so sexy? Because we're... Actually, there's a good point to reach here. You know, diversity causes lots of good genes to be developed. So, as you can see, Salem and Melad here. And yeah, so we're very diverse, but I don't really know the exact answer to this. And it's actually very subjective. So if you see someone who's sexy, some other people won't find it. So I'm sure some people here would refuse to, wouldn't really allow me, so I wouldn't say yes. Alright, keep going. No questions? Some questions? Yes, please. The guy with the souvenir.
Yeah, why you forgot to say your traditional sport, camel and horse riding, racing?
No, that's
I know better than you just, I deserve for a souvenir.
how did you're very quick in your assumptions. How did you assume that the camel riding is a sport in Libya?
Camel and horse racing is a tradition.
Horse racing is different from camel racing, and we don't do horse racing, we do traditions with horses in which actually there's no race. The whole point of the horse racing, which you saw in the video, let me just answer you. The whole point you saw in the video, which there were like horses riding, is for them to be exactly in the same line. If one horse gets too forward, then it's basically like that's the wrong thing to do. So horse racing is not it's a sport in Libya, but camel racing is by no means a sport.
But horses racing is a sport.
No.
If you want me to say yes, then yes. Yeah? Alright, can we have another question? Question? Yes, please, Yaroslav.
What is your national currency and how much is it in euros?
Can you please answer that question? I might have a sample that I can show you. Yeah?
Do you want me to answer it complicatedly or easy?
I just want to grab a form of the currency. Maybe I have it. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Okay, so the Libyan currency is dinar, like dinero. So the official price is around 1 euro is 1.5 Libyan dinars. So official price, but there's more to it.
I'm sorry, but you're out of it. Yeah, out of luck. But maybe Milad can Google something actually.
If he really wants to see something, maybe it's nice. What they mean by official price and black market, you buy it for different price.
Okay, it's not. Okay, I'll tell the answer for that. During Gaddafi time, there were prices like that. Government price 0.3, banks prices 1.5, and now we have black market. I mean, the black market starts now around 4. So you can think of this variation. So if you go to the bank and you tell them, yeah, I would like to buy some euros, they will tell you no. But if you say, I want to sell some euros, yes, sure. So that's the normal thing. Do you want to Google something?
So we have a picture of Al-Mokhtar on our 10th note here. He's a very famous, an old currency of this guy, the crazy guy I told you about. And yes, keeps going forward.
We have another question here.
It's very different. What's the Libyan people opinion about Gaddafi? So very different. I guess we have different opinions, but the general one would be that he ruled as a tyrant, and he introduced a tribal sort of way of ruling the country. So his cousins, his second, third cousins, big families. As we emphasize that families are really important. So if you're ruling, you should have some strong people with you. And in his case, he thought really hard about his family, so he somehow integrated that. In some cases successfully.
Can I answer that?
My personal opinion is actually what most people would think of him. So I'll just leave that to you. And
yeah, I could add to that due to the current situation, you will maybe encounter some Libyans that they say we want him back maybe for the stable condition. I mean, you can think about if you're used to live in a stable life and then everything goes south somehow. So some people now, they have this mindset that we wish him back, so because of the stable situation. But I mean, when you think about it, he ruled for a very long time, like 42 years. And after that, it was really complicated just to remove him. So, like many of the young people would think, maybe we can do better, but it will take some time.
Yeah, Ahmad Isham, yeah, it's just, yeah, for me, I don't know, for the people who know me or not, like I watch what a lot, and yeah, it's very bad, but yeah, okay, it's me. Yeah, this is Ahmad Isham conducting, but I think, not you? Okay. Yeah, but in this case, yeah, I believe Majeed more than, yeah, whoever wrote that.
Okay.
We're good. Yeah. Okay, maybe the three of us can answer something based on your point of view. So the current situation is very complicated, as
Can I answer to that question?
Yes, the three of us. Yeah, because I think we have different opinions, but I'll let you add to that. It's pretty complicated, as Melad said. It's after 42 years. It's really difficult to change, like country leaders or especially dictators. And in future, I mean, it's still difficult based on the current situation. We look for better every day, but the current situation doesn't show that the light is coming very soon. That's my own opinion about the situation, and maybe, yeah, Melad, you can just talk about it.
Well, the current situation, I would describe it as we have some people at the east and some people at the west, with two governments at the moment, two central banks. So some people wanted to divide the country, however, most people said no. we're trying to write a constitution, but it's not done yet. Because we have this East and West thing, and each group, they have their own supporters from foreign countries. So some of these, we have some conflicts. It's military conflict between the East and the West at the time. So that's the main reason we don't have a stable country yet. And if you think about it, we didn't have a president since Gaddafi, so it's since 2011, and that's, you can think of a country without a president. It's not easy to stabilize it, but we hope that maybe within the coming few years, maybe things will get better. Do you want to add something, or we go next question? Okay.
Yes, please. I don't have anything to add. They pretty much put it in a nutshell. We should sing dance. Dancing is, as we said, singing is very important, but dancing is very, basically we improvise and we shake a lot of hips. And we do a lot of weird moves, but it's basically, maybe the Egyptians can make us a cultural talk here, and if they showed us exactly how they dance, then just copy and paste it here with different melodies. We have a lot of Egyptians, so please try to encourage them to make a cultural talk. You dream to make your country better by going back. That's the only thing I dream about, actually. So I'm here for as long as I want, or as long as I have to. Personal opinion, only to go back there well equipped, let's say, to face a lot of challenges, as my friends have made. If you want to add to that.
Now, regarding the previous question, yeah, we have a saying in Libyan. It says like, it doesn't matter wherever you go worldwide, your country is your end. You go back at the end in any time. And since for my life, for my personal life, like I started having even my bachelor back in Libya. And when I started my bachelor, I was thinking, okay, I'll finish my bachelor, and okay, I will go back. Things went bad.